Most people think milk is simple, white, basic, harmless, something you pour without thinking, because it's always been there. But milk today is no longer the milk your grandparents drank. What sits in British fridges now is the result of industrial shortcuts, chemical interventions, aggressive processing, and supply chains so complex that even the supermarkets can't always tell you where it truly came from. This video is not about scaring you. It's about showing you what's actually behind the carton. Because once you understand how modern dairy works, you stop seeing milk as just milk. You start seeing systems, incentives, and compromises that never make it onto the label. Let's start with brands people trust without question. Graham's Family Dairy is often seen as a comforting name. Scottish, family-owned, established in the 1930s. Those words do a lot of heavy lifting. They suggest rolling green fields, cows grazing freely, and small-scale care. But the reality of their mainstream milk lines is far more industrial than the branding implies. To supply national supermarkets, Graham's processes enormous volumes of milk every day. That scale requires efficiency, not tradition. Most of the milk in their standard whole and semi-skimmed ranges comes from conventional dairy systems where cows spend the majority of their lives indoors. Concrete floors, controlled lighting. High-output feeding schedules designed to maximize liters per cow, not nutritional quality. These cows are largely fed grain-based concentrates in fermented silage rather than fresh grass. That matters more than people realize. Grass-fed milk has a fundamentally different fat profile. Higher omega-3s, more conjugated linoleic acid. Meal said that if you want to show your sunflowers, you can do it now. A healthier balance overall. Grain-fed milk flips that balance toward omega-6 fats, which in excess are linked to chronic inflammation. Then there's the processing. To create a uniform product that behaves the same in every bottle, a milk is aggressively homogenized. Fat globules are smashed into microscopic particles so cream never rises. Some research suggests these altered fat structures may interact differently in the body, potentially contributing to inflammatory processes. Add to that large-scale blending, where milk from hundreds of farms is pooled together, and traceability disappears entirely. You don't know which farm it came from. You don't know how those cows were treated. You don't know what they were fed. By the time that bottle reaches your fridge, it may already be several days old, having sat in distribution centers and supermarket chillers under constant fluorescent light. For a brand that trades so heavily on heritage, the reality is modern industrial dairy dressed in nostalgic language. And that's just the beginning. Müller is even more deeply embedded in the industrial dairy system. As a multinational corporation, it controls a massive share of the UK milk market. Their Blue Cap semi-skimmed milk is everywhere. It's marketed as lighter, healthier, and better for you. But semi-skimmed milk is one of the most nutritionally compromised dairy products you can buy. Removing the cream doesn't just remove calories. It removes fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. These nutrients require fat for absorption. Without it, they pass straight through your body. Calcium absorption also suffers without the presence of natural milk fat. Ironically, the very reason many people drink milk, bone health becomes less effective. Müller sources from intensive dairy operations across the UK and mainland Europe. Indoor housing is standard. High-energy feed is used to push milk yields beyond what cows would naturally produce. To extend shelf life and reduce spoilage risk, the milk is heat-treated at high temperatures, damaging delicate proteins and enzymes in the process. Some people notice digestive discomfort not because they're lactose intolerant, but because the milk proteins have been structurally altered. Without fat to slow digestion, semi-skimmed milk also spikes blood glucose more rapidly. Lactose is still sugar. Strip away the fat buffer, and it behaves more like a sweetened drink than a balanced food. Yet it continues to be marketed as the sensible choice. Budget supermarket milk takes these compromises even further. Morrison's everyday milk is sold as affordable British quality, but behind the value pricing are decisions that raise serious questions. Morrison's has partnered with major dairy processors involved in trials of methane-suppressing feed additives. These additives are designed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by interfering with microbial activity in a cow's stomach. On paper, it sounds environmentally responsible. In practice, it involves feeding cows synthetic chemical compounds that block natural digestive enzymes. Some farmers involved in early trials reported increases in infections and skin conditions in their herds. When the additive was withdrawn, those issues reportedly declined, yet consumers were never informed. There is no labeling requirement, no transparency. You have no way of knowing whether the milk in your fridge came from cows fed these additives. The everyday range also relies heavily on intensive farming models, limited pasture access, grain-heavy diets, blended milk from multiple regions. If something goes wrong, tracing it back to a single source becomes almost impossible. Morrison's promotes British sourcing, but British doesn't automatically mean ethical, nutritious, or transparent. Sainsbury's budget milk follows a similar pattern, but with even tighter margins. When milk is sold at rock-bottom prices, someone pays the cost. Often, it's the cows. Lower-tier dairy contracts operate on margins so thin that animal welfare becomes a secondary concern. Overcrowding, minimal veterinary intervention, cows pushed to their biological limits. Semi-skimmed formulations remove what little nutritional value remains, leaving lactose-heavy liquid that hits the bloodstream fast and hard. Ultra-high temperature processing is common in these lines. Heating milk to extreme temperatures destroys enzymes, denatures proteins, and eliminates beneficial bacteria. What's left is shelf-stable, biologically inactive fluid. It won't spoil easily, but it also doesn't nourish the way fresh milk does. Testing has shown higher infection markers in some low-cost milk supplies, indicating widespread udder infections within herds. Antibiotics are used routinely. Where are you? Low-whey smoking. While residue levels may fall within legal limits, those limits still allow trace amounts in everyday consumption. And again, there is no meaningful traceability for consumers. Long-life milk takes industrialization to its extreme. As does ultra-budget long-life milk is engineered almost entirely for logistics. Heated to around 135 degrees Celsius, it becomes shelf-stable for months. During that process, vitamins degrade, proteins react with sugars, and flavor compounds change. What you're drinking may technically be milk, but it no longer behaves like food. Stored unrefrigerated for months, its nutritional profile continues to decline. By the time it's opened, it may be half a year old. This is then marketed to families under financial pressure as an essential. It's not. It's a compromise designed for supply chains, not health. Discount retailers like Aldi push this model even further with skimmed UHT milk. With all fat removed and extreme heat applied, you're left with protein water containing sugar. No fat-soluble vitamins, no buffering against glucose spikes, no meaningful nutrition beyond calories. The supply chain often spans multiple countries. Milk from Germany, the Netherlands, and the UK blended together with no disclosure. Anonymous dairy selected purely on cost. 6-month-old liquid sold as food. Then there's Tesco. As the UK's largest supermarket, Tesco sets industry standards, which makes its involvement in feed additive trials particularly troubling. In late 2024, Tesco sold milk from herds supplemented with a methane-suppressing compound without informing customers. When the news broke, public trust collapsed overnight. The compound interferes with digestive enzymes in cows. Workers handling it must wear protective equipment. Yet consumers were given no warning, no label, no choice. Social media flooded with videos of people pouring milk down sinks, feeling like unwilling participants in an experiment. But not all milk is like this. There are still producers doing it properly. Organic milk, certified by the Soil Association, must meet legally enforced standards. Pasture access, No synthetic pesticides, no routine antibiotics, no GMO feed. Cows grazing outdoors for most of the year. Grass-fed diets that produce milk with higher omega-3 content and better fat balance. Gentle pasteurization preserves natural enzymes and protein structures. Whole milk retains fat-soluble vitamins in forms the body can actually use. Traceability exists. Farms are known. Practices are audited. Brands like Yo Valley demonstrate what happens when farming works with nature rather than against it. Permanent pasture, biodiversity, rotational grazing, milk with natural sweetness and richness that grain-fed systems can't replicate. And then there is Jersey milk. Jersey cows produce fundamentally different milk. Higher butter fat, more protein, rich mineral content, easier digestion for many people. When these cows are grass-fed and minimally processed, the result is milk that tastes and behaves like food again. When farming prioritizes animal welfare, genetics, and natural diets, the difference is immediate in flavor, in texture, in how your body responds. Milk doesn't have to be industrial liquid engineered for shelf life. It can still be what it once was, but only if you know what to look for. Because the truth isn't that milk is bad. The truth is that most modern milk isn't really milk anymore.